Hey guys, welcome back to my coverage here of the 2023 All Japan Model and Hobby Show in Tokyo, Japan. In part 1, I talked about all the new stuff that's coming out from Bandai, so check that out if you guys missed it. But check out today's video here as well, because we're going to be talking about everything on display from Kotobukiya, and then a couple other things thrown in there from other companies. The Hobby Show has stuff from all the different major hobby manufacturers, including model kits, paints, tools, supplies, and all that good stuff there. So there's a lot there on display. As always, this is like one of the biggest hobby shows they have there in Japan every year. And so there's a lot of stuff there. I'm not going to talk about everything super comprehensively in depth, but I want to talk about some of the cool stuff that we have on the way from Kotobukiya in the case of this video. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Starting off with like all the mecha stuff first, and then we'll talk about the Mecha Musume and that kind of stuff later. As always, there will be time codes down below if you guys want to skip around to any particular section that's of interest to you. First of all, we had the very exciting announcement, at least for me anyway, and I hope you guys are excited too, but the Ground Self-Defense Force Type 073 tank Nacchin, otherwise just simply known as the Nacchin tank. The EX version of this is going to be coming out, where basically with this new version we're getting some new parts, including some new shoulder equipment, some new head equipment. It's got the cat ears that we've seen previously in the Choipla, the Kaviko 100 scale version, like the really small version. There was a release that had the cat ears. Now we're getting it in Kotobukiya's much larger 1/35 scale version, so it's got the cat ears. And I think most exciting point for me is the fact that this version now also includes a pilot figure, and not just any kind of like random pilot figure, but it includes the pilot figure that is also part of Moi-san's illustration for this. So if you guys don't know, the Nacchin tank is designed by Moi-san, just a Japanese artist. He does all sorts of really cool illustration work, and he often features in his illustrations of the Nacchin with the pilot character, and I was really hoping that at some point in releasing different versions of this kit, Kotobukiya would finally give us this pilot character included with the kit as well, and now we finally will be able to have that. So this is going to be coming out with both a seated pilot figure in a sort of cockpit that you can put into the kit itself, and then also a standing version as well, and this is going to be a 1/35 scale, so not teeny tiny, but not that big either, but it is going to be really nice. So I'm looking forward to finally having the pilot figure included there with the Nacchin. And if you guys don't feel like getting the full kit again, maybe you just want to get this new option set of parts, you can get it as the append parts set, where it's just going to be just the accessories. And then it does also include a M.S.G rifle weapon, which you can get on its own separately, but they've just kind of packaged it together with this set. So it comes with the shoulder equipment, the new rifle, the ears, and the pilots in both sitting and standing form there, so you can get that if you just want to just get the parts set to add to your already existing Nacchin kit if you already have one, so you can do that as well. Aside from that, some more Nacchin news is that we had the announcement of a Scope Dog version of the Nacchin to be coming out as well in the future, which looks awesome. Hopefully this is the first of, I'm sure it's not going to be many, that's probably a little too wishful thinking, but hopefully this is the first of at least a couple of different kind of spin-off versions of the Nacchin that we could look forward to in the future, because again, Moi-san in his illustration work has done plenty of variations of this. I mean, Kotobukiya certainly has a lot to go off of in terms of different ideas for different variants that they can release for this kit in the future, and so hopefully this is the first of many. I have to say, when they first came out with the Nacchin tank from Kotobukiya, I wasn't sure if they were gonna do any other kind of versions or anything like that. I thought it was probably just gonna be like the one release, and then kind of that's probably maybe it. I'm really happy that they've gone ahead and made now multiple versions of it, and we have more on the way. It's a cool release, and I'm just glad that Moi-san is getting a lot of recognition for his cool work that he did to make this design. Basically, it comes down to, it's just kind of nice to see that Kotobukiya is supporting like an independent artist. This is a design that's not from an anime, it's not from a manga, it's not from anything. It has no recognition other than just like Twitter, essentially. And it's cool that, Kotobukiya took the chance to produce it as a kit, and then I'm really glad to see that it's been very successful so far, so that's cool. Moving on then into some M.S.G, this is modeling support goods, heavy weapon sets that were there that were announced. The Unit 38, which is the colonic arms, which is some really cool kind of like clear purple sort of effect part set weapons kind of thing that looks really interesting. Then there's also the Gunblade Lance 2. This is another one. These in particular are being shown off with some of the recent Megami Device and Frame Arms Girl releases, as that's kind of what they particularly go well with, but of course you can use these with anything, whether it be frame arms or with your Gunpla or anything like that. So these are worth looking into if you're kind of thinking that the weapons do look pretty cool, but you might want to use it with like your M.S.G Gundam or something, for example. You can certainly do that. The last one here is the Mega Slash Edge 2, another kind of sword weapon. Kind of all of these new weapons that were shown there in the M.S.G heavy weapons unit line there are just kind of like sword based and kind of physical based, not like range weapons like rifles or anything like that. But those all look pretty cool. In ZOIDS news, we had the prototype of the Guy Sack there on display. Still can't quite get over that name, but yeah, this one we saw at Shizuoka. I think they had just an illustration display of like what it was going to be. Now we have the actual prototype to go off of for that, sort of this like small little scorpion kind of, not one of the larger ZOIDS designs, but I think a smaller one in Kotobukiya's HMM line. And then we also had an illustration. This is what we had for the Guy Sack at Shizuoka, and now we have the illustration card here for the Salamander, which is going to be coming out as a new HMM kit there from Kotobukiya in their ZOIDS line of high-end master model releases there. So moving on into Hexa Gear. Let's go Hexa Gear Rayblade Impulse Reloaded Collector's Edition. So I think this is probably has been one of the most successful releases for Kotobukiya in the Hexa Gear line. They've had a number of different variations of this, and so they're coming out with the Rayblade Reloaded Collector's Edition. I think just as to kind of be another new version of that they can sell, but it does look pretty cool how it sort of combines aspects of some of the other different releases that they've had for the Rayblade Impulse so far into this new version, and it's got those really cool effect parts in there as well, and looks pretty awesome. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. We also have the Zenith Revere, which looks like a really huge, it looks really big for one. It's going to be a pretty big sort of mecha bird model kit there, and then your Hexa Gear governors can ride on it as well, so it's going to be sort of like a rideable thing there. But it looks pretty awesome. I'd say if you wanted like this big massive like mecha eagle, essentially kind of what it is like. It does look pretty cool. Other than that, they also had a image here on display of the Media Rivers, or Nadea Rivers, I guess, sorry, is what it looks like. And kind of hard to, I mean, it's kind of, with the illustration, it's kind of hard to get a good sense of what exactly this is going to look like. It looks like it's basically sort of like a raptor with chainsaw arms, if that makes sense. Imagine like a mecha velociraptor with chainsaws for arms. I don't know any other kind of better way to describe that, but based on the image that they have here of it, that's what it looks like to me, and that's pretty wild. Looks pretty cool there. And then we had a new version of the bulk arm here, the bulk arm Lux shape. This one also kind of interesting in that it has a backhoe arm on it, so that's kind of interesting as like a working mecha version kind of the bulk arm. So that should be kind of interesting. With no color scheme for that, I don't think they showed anything in color for it. I would assume it's probably going to be some sort of like yellow or orange sort of like construction equipment in its color scheme, I can imagine, for that. But that one actually looks pretty cool as well. That's another sort of rideable mecha unit, rideable as in rideable for your governors. And speaking of governors, we had some new governors there announced as well. The Type Pawn A1 version 2.0. So there's a couple of these that are 2.0 versions of like the Type Pawn A1 for this one. For example, we also had the Paraprawn Sentinel version 2.0. In these 2.0s, I'm not sure what exactly is entirely all different about them, other than the fact that they have new head parts. So aside from like the helmet head, they actually have like an actual human head that you can put on there. And as far as I can tell, that seems to be probably the extent of what makes them 2.0. Maybe some of the colors or weaponry might be slightly different in these 2.0 releases here for those, but those are some of the first ones that came out in the line, so it's cool to see those are coming out again as new 2.0 versions. And then also the Type Pawn A1 Custom, so again, just another custom version of the Type A1. The different head, and then also a little bit different equipment there for that one. So those are pretty cool little 120 scale, or no, 135th scale, aren't they? Yeah, 135th scale model kits there from the Hexa Gear line from Kotobukiya. Okay, and that's everything for like the mecha related stuff. Now moving on into the Mecha Musume stuff. Unfortunately, just on a side note, there was no announcement of any new frame arms released, at least anything that I saw. So hopefully in the near future, beginning of next year or something, we'll see some more for some upcoming future frame arms releases. But speaking of frame arms girl, we have the Congo Destroyer version. So this is basically a new color version of the Congo Frame Arms Girl kit. And as far as I can tell, not really too much else different with this. I think maybe the weapon might be a little bit different, but it looks like it's mostly just a recolor. But it's a really cool looking kit. If you guys are like Kankole fans, Kantai Collection, then this is a Frame Arms Girl kit that might be of particular interest to you. They have a new version of the Go-Rai coming out as well. Go-Rai has been one of the most reissued Frame Arms Girl kits, I have to say, probably in like different color versions and variations of it over the years, as it was the first, and I'm sure it's been, you know, one of the most popular and successful releases in the line. But the black version comes with the anti-tank missile, which we recently saw packaged with the Arcia model kit as well from Kotobukiya, and it looks like it's the same weapon set, which is a part of the little armory weapon set there. Then in Megami Device news, we had another recolor version here of the Straff. This is the Megami Device Buso Shinki collaboration, the black version, or what is it's black anyway, the original version that was released just a couple months ago. Now we're getting a repaint version of that where it's mostly in white, and it does look pretty cool, I have to say, for that. So looking forward to checking that out. I have the first one to build probably in the next week or so. I'll be building that and sharing that with you guys very soon, so look forward to that. I'm looking forward to building it, but anxiously awaiting and kind of looking at it here. I've had it in my office for a little bit, looking forward to building up that one. Then we also had the Empress Susanoo Guren. This is the third version of this kit after the original. Then we had the blue version. Now we're getting a red version of this kit, which once again looks pretty awesome. It's such an impressive kit. My first opinion when I first saw it, like my first impression of it was it's kind of a little extra. It's kind of like way too much going on with it. But after building it, I have to say it is a really cool and impressive build here of the Susanoo. I guess it's the second version. There was just the blue flame version. Before that, it was just the original kind of like black and red Susanoo. So anyway, this is like a red version of the blue version of the Susanoo that we had before. Anyway, looks awesome. And then also the Shiro Tamamo no Mae. This is also a kind of recolor of the Asura Tamamo no Mae kit there, which was originally like kind of black and neon green. This one's in like kind of all white, which looks really interesting. The color scheme for this is kind of like off-white gray kind of color. But the design, the Tamamo no Mae, looks really cool there in that new color scheme as well, I have to say. So a lot of like recolor stuff, but I've got to say it all looks really cool. So looking forward to all of those releases. And then they had some stuff there on display for their new Buster Doll line, which looks very much like 30 Minutes missions parts combined like with the Megami Device. So it's kind of interesting in that sense. These also look really, really cool. But I mean, you can't help but notice the similarity to a lot of the parts on these looking like something out of 30 Minutes missions, basically. But so we had the Buster Doll Gunner, which is going to be the first one that we're going to have coming out. There's also the Knight, the Tank, and the Paladin, which are some of the other releases that are on the way there from the Buster Doll kind of new series of Megami Device releases here. So these look really interesting. The really cool thing about these is that it looks like they're using like a kind of uniform block system for the construction of them, which is going to make them very easily compatible for part swapping. So obviously already like the Frame Arms Girl, and Megami Device parts generally are pretty compatible, a lot of the stuff between them. But this is going to be taking it kind of to a whole nother level. Basically, kind of, again, very similar to like 30 Minutes Missions, 30 Minutes Sisters, of like what Bandai's been doing with those lines. Kotobukiya is like really focusing on the compatibility here between these. Not only just like the parts and the accessories, which all use just like a 3mm hardpoint, but like even down to like the construction of the bodies is going to be all kind of uniform, so that's all very compatible, which is cool. So that should be very interesting. Those designs look pretty cool. We also have the Roll kit coming out here from Kotobukiya's line of Mega Man releases. I wasn't sure where to put this with the Mecha or Mecha Musume, but considering it's like a girl character, I guess, I figured it kind of made sense to put in this section of the video, but anyway, debatable. I've not built any of those. If you guys have any particular recommendations of a Kotobukiya Mega Man or Rockman release that you guys would recommend for me, let me know, because I want to build one just out of curiosity, just kind of see what they're like. Maybe I'll build Roll when she comes out. And then we also had Kotobukiya's Megalomania line there on display, which is another kind of new line entirely here. And so we have the Ruby Eye, which is set to be coming out here, and there is also an X Armor set, which I think this is going to be a separate set as far as I understand it, to make a White Nurse set here. There is also, and I'll show you guys just a couple of photos here of each of these other versions. This is something we talked about before at Shizuoka, so I won't really go over too much about it because the line's not out yet. We still don't really have anything too much new or different really to talk about from what I talked about at Shizuoka time earlier in the year. But there's the Novice, the Seeker, the Greed, and the Mephist as some of the other ones coming out. And also, this is another one where it's kind of debatable whether this goes in the mecha side or the Mecha Musume kind of side of Kotobukiya releases, because some of these are like very clearly sort of female-esque looking mecha designs, but then there's other ones that are very clearly meant to be kind of like male. So just anyway, kind of not to get too much in the weeds on that, these do look really cool and look very interesting. One thing that Kotobukiya is really showing off with all the promotional images and everything they're putting out about this line is the just like flexibility, the posability of them. They're just super duper posable and really nicely articulated. So that's definitely going to be one thing that's going to be a lot of fun about these kits, is just how fun it's going to be just to pose them in like all sorts of extreme poses. Is going to be really cool. So last couple of things here. Now we have to talk, of course, about Sousai Shojo Teien. One of the more recent cash cows for Kotobukiya, I think, is their line of schoolgirl model kits. So this is now getting completely out of anything mecha related. It's just straight up Musume model kits here. We have Ichijo Seira, the Reiho High School, I've got hobby on the mind, Reiho High School summer uniform version of her on the way. This is a new character to be joining the line and looks to be like kind of like a gyaru type character, if you guys know kind of about, I don't know, Japanese culture, if you know what gyaru are. So anyway, that should be a nice, interesting addition to the line, some kind of something a little bit different anyway. So that will be cool. We've also got the Yomi Black Canvas release coming out, which it looks like a kind of a new version of Koyomi from the line, as it's got the same like hair parts, and I think like some of the body parts, the body parts look different as well. But anyway, it looks like an alternate version of Koyomi from the line, but it's just marked as just Yomi, and it has a kind of black kind of punk style to it, which is kind of interesting. So again, it's something a little different for the line, which is very cool. There is also going to be a dress up parts cute ribbon, and this is something that I feel like is a kind of, I guess it's a part of this line, but it could have just as well just been like a modeling support goods release, even though it's not really anything like that you would use probably on like a mecha model suit necessarily, but you could, or like on any other kind of frame arms or Megami Device. Considering that there's like Megami Device option parts sets that they make, I feel like this could have been maybe a part of the Megami Device option parts sets. But anyway, it's part of Sousai Shoujo Teien, and it's this big massive ribbon that you can attach onto your kits if you want to add a cute large ribbon onto them. Okay, we also have Kuon Momozakura, who I guess is going to be another new character that's going to be coming into the line, I guess probably sometime later next year. And aside from the high school summer uniform version of her, there is also going to be a Bonfire Maria. I'm not sure about the translation and everything of that, but an alternate color, this is the alternate color version, which is maybe going to be a Kotobukiya web shop exclusive, would be my guess. It's very kind of early, and I've not seen all the information translated, so I'm not too sure. I'm just kind of going off the Japanese there. But some cool new additions to the Sousai Shoujo Teien line on the way, so definitely looking forward to those. Last couple of things here in Arca Nadea, we have the Sofiera on display there. Again, this is something that we talked about earlier in the year. She's still on the way. It looks like a really cool new design there for the Arca Nadea series of kits, which I just recently am now in the middle of actually working on building the third release in that line. This will be the fifth release actually, after Horse Girl is the next one. So that means that this would be release number 5, and does look really cool. And then they also teased the 6th release to be coming out, and again, that's probably something that won't be out till probably at the pace of things, I would assume maybe like this time next year, around there. But great to see that that line is continuing, because those kits have all so far been really, really nice. So another great series that I'm glad to see is continuing. And then we had the Titanomachia Strato Hound. And this is really interesting in that it's cool to see these Titanomachia kits finally coming out. This was something, I think I've told this story before, but in 2019 when I was at the Shizuoka Hobby Show, so this would have been in May 2019, I met Naoki there, who is the designer behind the Titanomachia series. And this was like when it was first announced, and there was like some stuff there about it at that time. I think just some like placeholder kind of images of kind of what to expect from the series. So this is going back more than 4 years now. And at that time, I thought I remember him telling me that Kotobukiya was going to be doing the character models and Aoshima was going to be doing the mecha models. It turns out that maybe something changed, and that's why maybe one of the reasons why it's been so long leading up to these releases. But Kotobukiya is making the Stratohound, which is the second release that Kotobukiya is doing for the character model kits from Titanomachia as the series. As far as the mecha models, those are going to be coming out from Motoroid, which, yeah, like I said, I don't think was what was originally planned, so maybe that changed. But Motoroid's awesome. I love the Motoroid line there from Good Smile Company, so those new mecha model kits also look really, really cool, just as something to talk about from the Motoroid releases. Also, on another side note, there's a Motoroid model kit of the Razafan, which is also coming out, which I'm really, really looking forward to. That looks awesome. I'm a big fan, so I am very excited for that. But as far as the Titanomachia new, there's 4 mecha designs that they're going to be coming out with, I guess, for the time being. Those all look really cool as well, so those I'm really looking forward to. Some really cool stuff on the way. And last note, I will mention that there was some, just on speaking of some Maschinen Krieger stuff, which you guys know I'm a big fan of as well. There was Artpla is coming out with a new set for the Grosserhund. That's going to be a 3 set, so you'll get 3 Grosserhunds in one set here, and they are going to be in 1/35 scale, so smaller. The previous releases of the Grosserhund and the mini variations from Hasegawa are in 1/20 scale, so they're larger. These are going to be smaller, and 3 to a set, which is very cool. Looking forward to that release. And then also Wave has a couple of new model kits coming out as well from Maschinen Krieger. I didn't see anything from Hasegawa, any new releases that they have on the way. I don't think that they had anything there. But like I said at the start, there was a lot of stuff there from a lot of different companies, and way more than I'm going to cover in this video, but that was at least some of the highlights from what Kotobukiya had on display there. A lot of really cool stuff on the way that I'm really looking forward to, so hopefully you guys are as well. If there's anything in particular that you guys are really interested in, really looking forward to getting and building and modeling for yourself, let me know in the comment section below. If you guys want to check out any of these kits, most of these are not going to be up for pre-order quite yet, because these are just kind of early news announcements for these. But if you guys want to check out some more stuff from Kotobukiya, check the link in the video description below to USA Gundam Store. We've got all sorts of Kotobukiya products, as well as paints and tools and supplies and all that stuff there for you guys, so check that out. If you guys would also like to like and or subscribe while you're here, of course, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you guys all so much for checking out the video today. Till next time, hope you all have a good one. Bye guys.